In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read ancient tomes, the order of the Abercast. We are the brave and bold.
Hey, so this month we are doing, we have 6 mainstream episodes and 3 Patreon exclusive episodes. So on the mainstream, we're doing Kabbalah 1 and 2. We're doing the Skull and Bones Part 4. I think it's going to be called The Cult of Skull and Bones. Spanish Inquisition or the Black Legend, Sexual Alchemy Part 2. And then we're also doing an episode on the stories of Roland. And we have 3 Patreon exclusive episodes. They're all about the Kabbalah. Kabbalah, the supernal triangle, Kabbalah, the moral triangle, and Kabbalah, the psychological triangle. So, but that's not all. Wait, there's more. I stumbled upon this great story about our chivalrous knight, Roland, fighting a giant. That I didn't fit it into the Stories of Roland episode. So this month we're going to do this extra kind of mini episode for the mailing list subscribers. Like, they'll get it. It's going to wind up being an exclusive video for Patreon supporters. It's called The Brave Knight Roland versus Ferragus the Giant. I had a lot of fun doing it. I'm really excited for it. So if you're interested in catching it in either of those ways, you could sign up for the mailing list or check it out on Patreon. An ancient alchemical treatise called The Sounding of the Trumpet, we are told that in the lunar stone is the white sulfur, in the solar stone red sulfur, and in the mercurial stone embraces both, which is the strength of the whole magistry. This alludes to the exchange of fluids, one into the other vessel. The use of the word strength in the paragraph is not random. See the Rider Waite Tarot trump called Strength, or Crowley's equivalent Lust. Red is the color of Gabora on the Tree of Life, and it has become known to most by its association with the phallus, Mars, the god of war, and the Kundalini. Red is the heraldic substitute for the metal gold, a metal usually attributed to the sun and possessing male qualities. At first glance, it is easy to perceive this as a conflict in archetypes. As I explained previously, the Tree of Life can be used as a system of classification wherein abstract principles can be decoded or broken down to reveal certain truths. And this is where I will turn for my answer. Basic Techniques for Performing Sexual Alchemy by Geraldo del Campo. Giddy up!
The Abercast. Occult. History. Conspiracy. Violence.
All right, welcome to the Abercast. I am John Towers. I'm your home slice, John Towers. I'm your Red Eagle. Is that right? I don't know. I don't know. I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. And so this is a continuation of the episode from the last week of last month, where I had to kind of stop. And I kind of painted myself into a corner. I was doing a tarot card series and this sexual alchemy series. And I ran into this issue where both of these things were talking about Kabbalah or Kabbalah. And so I felt like I needed to just take a time fucking out and talk about the Kabbalah for a second. So we did 2 Kabbalah episodes, and that's great. We got a little foundation now, so I feel like we can move forward with this sexual alchemy business. So that's what this is starting. So it depends. You choose your level of participation. If you're just listening to this, I strongly suggest that you at least go back and listen to the last sexual alchemy episode. But if you want to get like if you want the whole experience, I suggest that you at least go back and listen to not only the last sexual alchemy episode, but the 2 Kabbalah episodes. And I mean, like, download the plans and everything, because you got to look at these diagrams, son, to understand what the fuck I'm talking about. Those Kabbalah episodes, I don't know. I'm not going to get into it. Okay, so the cold open was kind of that's where we left off for the last sexual alchemy episode. So we're starting like right from like the middle of this paper from Geraldo del Campo. So if you are at a place where, like, if you're not at work or at the gym or wherever you might listen to these podcasts so this is the time for you to bust out your mason jar, son. You bust it out, you fill it all up with a whole tray of standard ice cubes can fit into a properly sized mason jar. So jam the whole fucking thing of ice in there, right? Pour out 2 shots of like the rot guttiest gin you can find, the most go like not even the bottom shelf of the bar, go whatever they have in the basement and get it and pour out 2 shots and throw them in there. You will notice that the ice will start melting immediately, like you cut a slice of lime or one of those stupid plastic limes that's got the lime juice in there, and you just squirt a couple lime juices in there, and then you fill the rest of it up with tonic, and then you need like a glass stirrer like that you will find in like a scientific lab, or like a wooden I don't know, chopstick and you stir it around, and you will see that there's a violent chemical reaction that will pop out of the mason jar, and it'll look like a little skull and crossbones in like a mushroom cloud of an atomic explosion, just like in a Looney Tunes cartoon. Like that's what you'll see. This is the formula of the weapon of mass distraction. My friends, this is a Jinn jihad. If you like to get in on the Patreon support, I'm getting these made as we speak, as you're listening to this. $5 tier and up, mason jars, Abercast mason jars with the oath on them, the flyest mason jars ever made. So now that that's all out of the way, we're going to get into this. We're going to do part 2 of Geraldo del Campo's basic techniques for performing sexual alchemy. And then at the end of this, we're going to kind of fly off into this other thing. But it's super interesting. So, Geraldo del Campo talks like this last paragraph here that I mentioned in the cold open. I'm just going to read it again. As I have explained previously, the tree of life, he's talking about the Kabbalistic tree of life, can be used. There's so many different trees of life. So I have to be specific. Can be used as a system of classification wherein abstract principles can be decoded, broken down to reveal certain truths. And in this is where I will turn to find my answer. So, with that being said, this episode is going to have a plan, and the plan is going to start with figure A, which is the Tree of Life from the Kabbalah episode. So it'll be the same graphic. In case you don't want to upload those episodes, it's going to be the same fucking thing right here, right? Like I said, they all build on this. It's the center of the Western mystery tradition is the Kabbalah. So it makes sense that I would have to kind of back up and start building that out as I'm getting into more and more of this stuff. So here we go. We're going to get into this. No, what am I doing? Button. What follows is very difficult to explain and even harder to understand unless one refers to some visual aid, like if you sign into the mailing list and get the plan. Please, if you don't want to do that, you could just Google search Tree of Life, and you'll find a graphic that you can use to reference this. Please refer to the illustrations of the Tree of Life for reference. It's figure A on the plan if you just sign into the mailing list. So it will shoot you a link to a secret part of my website where you can download the PDF and you can see this. Or you could just Google search it, like I said. Perfect balance and harmony are attributations of Tiferoth, whose metal is gold. Knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel is said to be symbolized by the Tiferoth. All right, I'm going to take a break for 1 second. I'm going to flip through this. I'm going to find my entry on the Tiferoth. I believe it's on page 4. The Tifereth or Tipperet is the force that integrates the Sephira of... Okay, so he's saying Sephira, but I do know that if it's a plural, it's Sephiroth. So we're going to say it's the force that integrates the Sephiroth of Chesed, compassion, and Gevurah, strength or judgment. Now, this should be ringing bells for you guys, not just from the recent episodes, but also from the Baphomet episode back in the day. These two forces are respectively expansively given and restrictive receiving. Either of them without the other could not manifest the flow of divine energy. They must be balanced in perfect proportion by balancing compassion and discipline. This balance can be seen in the role of Tiferet, wherein the conflicting forces have harmonized and the creation flowers forth. Tifereth also balances Nitzak and Hod in a similar manner, in the case that Hod can be seen as the intellect, where Nitzak can be seen as emotion. These are all things we have to deal with, right? Discipline and compassion. When you're dealing with sexy time, right? Discipline and compassion, emotion and intellect. Perfect balance and harmony are attributions of Tiferath, whose metal is gold. Knowledge and conversation with the holy guardian angel is said to be symbolized by Tiferath. Knowledge in this context is meant to be biblical, meant to be in the biblical sense, a sexual knowledge. We will therefore establish if the desired end of sex magic is to be found within the realm of experience illustrated by Tifereth. Furthermore, since the metal attributed is gold, it is and the desired end of alchemical transmutation of lesser metals is gold, we can simply assume that the careful speculation and analysis of Tifereth will reveal the affinity between both systems and spiritual attainment. Because Tifereth plays such an important role in both alchemy and sex magic, we will use the transmutation of the lesser metals as symbolized by the other Sephiroth into gold as a metaphor explaining the mechanics of sex magic. Take note that Gabora is on the left pillar. See figure A of the plan. Known to be feminine and known to represent sexual passion or aggression, which is not exclusively male qualities. Menstruation is a red, the female quality in Gabora is a higher expression of the passionate qualities expressed in Netzek, the root of fire and unbridled passion. Gabora also represents the destruction of the old so that something new can exist. And this will remind those of us that understand women's cycle of regeneration of the surface of the uterus, which occurs during menstruation, or as I call it, the menses. If we attempt to... Did I miss something? If we attempt to raise the vibrational quality of the energy symbolized by Netzek to Gabora, so these are two of the Sephiroths that are on the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, we will need to take the path illustrated by the tarot card Death, Trump 13. This is a major arcana card 13. They call it Trump 13. I know that word is like a dog whistle, red flag for people nowadays, Trump, so don't think of that. Also, the Hebrew word Akkad, Achad, which means love, enumerates to 13. Now, we mentioned this in the tarot card episodes, that when you boil the letters down, I hope that you guys see that these are all interconnected. And I have done this not purposefully. I have done this and I've painted myself in the corner where I have to start tackling these two topics at the same time. And these two topics refer highly to the Kabbalah. So I am afraid to make them so interconnected, but what they're talking about is if you take the ACHAD and you do the reductive numerology, it enumerates to the number 13. The hermetic meaning of the card of death is orgasm, the little death, or as the French call it, the le petit de mort, or something like that. I don't speak French. I mean, I can find like a bathroom in France. I only spent like a week in France. And French chicks, by the way, dog, except for the armpits. And like the cheese smell. The symbol that was years ago. I'm sure it's all different now. Don't get crazy. I shouldn't have even brought it up. Symbolic of the changes which occur during release. When we continue moving towards the Gabora to the path illustrated by Tarot Trump 8, which is adjustment. Adjustment is the Weight Rider decks, number 11. Is justice. So the cards have changed. The symbols on the cards have changed over time. But this is not the time to talk about it. God, this is going to be confusing. Trump 8 is attributed to the Hebrew letter Lamed, which means ox goad. This suggests some relation to Trump 0, the fool. So whenever you see Trump, say Trump in this episode, it's talking about the major arcana. So Trump 0 is the 0 card. It's the Fool. This is what turned into the Joker card of our normal standard playing card deck. The Fool. This is attributed to the Hebrew letter Aleph, which means ox. Therefore, the ox goad is an implement used to control, instruct, or teach the ox. The ox, the Fool, illustrates creative power in action. The ox goad or adjustment represents that which is the driving force within it. The zodiacal attribution to the adjustment is Libra. Its color is green, and Venus, rocket number 9, just go to the planet of Venus, rules it. And here we begin to see its connection to Netzach, which is a Sephiroth from the Tree of Life. The fact that its physical representation is that of a whip ties it in with the disciplinary qualities of Gabora, which we already talked about. In sex magic, this plan defines our purpose and intent and alludes to the mental discipline necessary to complete the work. Here we go. We're going to get into it. There is an apparent discrepancy pertaining to the white eagle. The white is her heraldic color of the metal silver. And silver is a lunar color usually associated with woe man. Whoa, man. I was a thief. You got to believe. She took my car, my keys, and my cat. Most importantly is the color of alchemy, Mercury, which is Hod. We can then start a series of associations. If silver equals Mercury and Mercury equals sperm, skeet, 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 we can assume that, like sperm, Hod will contain both male and female potential. I mention this over and over again. Whenever we talk about this stuff, it's all about potential. We can turn the Kabbalistic analysis for verification and see if the image of Hod is a hermaphrodite. We continue with the same. We also talk about hermaphrodites all the time for some reason. We continue with the same process and assumption as before in order to discover more potential clues. We assume that if we raise the vibrational quality of Hod to that of Chesed, we will need to travel first from Hod to Tiferoth. And the path of the tarot trump, the devil, the phallus from Tiferoth, and just the Tiferoth. We continue towards Chesed and the path associated with the trump, the hermit, which is sperm. Skeet, skeet, skeet. Kabbalistically, the whole operation can be summed up by a simple assumption. The alchemical energies represented in the Sephiroth must descend towards Tifereth. The careful Kabbalistic analysis of this process will give some clues to this operation. All right, here we go. It's going to get dicey. This is when you need to look at the pictures. Kether is the first matter, and from it we extract the 3 chemical principles, mercury, sulfur, and salt, embodied in chaos, which is chakma. From the encounters, the first imperfect metal, lead. Binah is the descent towards gold. Tifereth is symbolized by the path of the lovers, the marriage of opposites. Okay, so if you look at the map, the hopscotch pattern of the Tree of Life, Kether is on the very top of the first triangle. It's at the peak, and off to the right hand side, house right. House right is Chakma, house left is Binah, both making the triangle part, right? Now, if you pull up the plan from the second, I believe it's the second Kabbalah episode, to the lightning strike, you will see that the way that the lightning travels down the tree is from Kether to Chakma over to Binah down to the Tiferath in some manner. It might actually, it goes from Kether to Chakma to Binah through the Doth to Chest to Chesed to Gabora and then into Tiferoth. It's the marriage of opposites. The next imperfect metal is tin. Chesed is moved towards impurity and symbolized in the path of the hermit, which is the sperm. Next is iron, or Gabora. Gabora is its method towards flawlessness is alluded to the path of adjustment, discipline, and direction are always the ways of Kundalini. The following metal is copper, or Netzach. Its progress towards gold is symbolized by the major arcana card Death, the orgasm or destruction of the ego, the sacrifice. The path represented by the major arcana card the Devil, the phallus, and alludes to the transition of Mercury or Hod. The art trump symbolizes the path of silver or Yesod. So we're moving our way down this tree of the Kabbalistic tree of life. Once these alchemical ideas have become perfected in the sphere of Tiferoth, Sol, gold, they descend down towards physical manifestation and Malkuth through the paths. Malkuth is at the very bottom, through the paths symbolized by the trump card's art and the universe. The art trump, or temperance, as it is called in other decks, shows a double-faced woman wearing a lunar crown. She is shown half white and half black, alluding to the Taoist idea of balance, and she pours fire and water into a cauldron, which the white lion and the red eagle drink. The apparent reversal of colors and archetypes allude to the Taoist idea of the balance between persons male and female, yin and yang. The physical manifestation of the elixir of life, the alchemical gold, or the stone of the philosophers, is symbolized by Malkuth, the four elements, the Garden of Eden, whose magical image is that of a beautiful young maiden sitting upon a cube, holding an apple betwixt her legs. The essence of any individual is bisexual. All right, so again, we got to get back to this Kabbalah episode, the Kabbalah episodes, where we talk about the idea that Adam and Eve, or Adam and Lilith, were one being. They were hermaphroditic beings with both sexual organs before they were separated. And in the one of the alchemy episodes that we did in the past, we talked about it was kind of like a proto-sexual alchemy episode where I actually busted out a bunch of Tool songs and explained it. I didn't really explain it, but we talked about the union of male and female, and this also reminds me of a few of the Gnostic episodes we did of Simon Magus and Helen of Troy spinning through eternity trying to find each other. The Adam and Eve being the separation of the male and female principle, and Simon Magus and Helen of Troy being the reunification of it. It's all very beautiful. So it's a web that's been weaved through the Abercast since kind of we started, I suppose. The essence of any individual is bisexual. Like Nirvana said, everybody's gay. We bear both male and female qualities. The contrast in behavior of men and women is partly due to the physical body we own and or socially imposed to conduct. The idea behind this kind of operation is that the soul must be brought into balance throughout the union of its opposite represented by the male and female participant. Once this is done, the spirit will experience total freedom and expression, which will rise above the confines of the human body and social conditioning. Once this occurs, union with God is possible. All right, we're going to do this last bit, and then we're going to take a break. Preparing the alchemical gold. The idea of alchemical gold as it pertains to the elixir, which is used to delay the effects of aging, prolong life, the healing illness, comes from the fact mentioned above. The human body uses the finest nutrients for the development of sperm and vaginal secretions. It's vaginal. Once the business of consuming these thoroughly mixed fluids is repeated over many years, and the end results will be secretions of the highest purity, the potency being greatly magnified each time until the consummation of such secretions has the potential to heal all disease. This is called alchemical gold. All right, what do we got? Patreon this month. This month we started out with 2 Kabbalah episodes. And on Patreon in December, we expand on them with 3 exclusive episodes: Kabbalah, the supernal triangle, Kabbalah, the moral triangle, and Kabbalah, the psychological triangle. We take a deeper dive into this ancient Jewish mysticism for only $5. You get a deeper understanding of the Kabbalah because it ties into a lot of the topics that we find ourselves immersed in right now. Sex magic and also tarot cards. But on the $3 tier, you'll be able to get all of this month's episodes commercial free right away. The whole month's worth of episodes is on there already. Kabbalah 1 and 2, Skull and Bones. I think it's going to be called Skull and Bones Part 4, or like Skull and Bones, The Cult. I don't know what it's going to be called. The Spanish Inquisition, The Black Legend, and Sexual Alchemy Part 2. And then we're going to do the stories of Roland there towards the end. There's a total of 17 exclusive episodes, all within the last 3 months. That's been put up there. Brand new exclusive episodes. You can't find them anywhere else. And then there's a total of 10 hours of bonus audio up there as well. And the swag, bookmarks, tattoos, fake tattoos, mason jars, t-shirts, etc. Partial proceeds for all of this goes to Tomes for Troopers. So thank you. This month for Tomes for Troopers, we sent out another D&D book to a soldier in Afghanistan. This one is more nearer and dearer to my heart, but we sent out deities and demigods out to this guy. A portion of all ad revenue, donations, and Patreon support goes to helping send deployed U.S. servicemen and women books or other medias. The donation link is in the show notes. The Patreon link is in the show notes. And over the last 3 or 4 months, I'm proud to say that we've been able to ship out over $80 worth of books and media. So thank you guys for all the support. And if you're interested in helping, check out those donation links or that Patreon link. Thank you. All right, we're going to move away from Geraldo del Campo. We're going to move towards this book, parts of it. We're going to move to parts of this book called Treatise of Sexual Alchemy by Samael Weor. Hold on, I'm going to try that again. We're going to move off of the Geraldo del Campo article, and we're going to move into a book called The Treatise of Sexual Alchemy by Samael and Weor. We're going to get into chapter 6. This is this person is using the same terminology as Del Campo. So we're going to see where it leads. The white elixir and the red elixir. The white elixir and the red elixirs are the tree of the science of good and evil and the tree of life. This totally reminds me of the Patreon exclusive episodes, the influence of the phallic idea in the ancient religions of antiquity, where we spend a lot of time talking about the two different trees in the Garden of Eden and what they mean. It's interesting. It's an interesting episode. The red elixir is pure gold and of the spirit, and it is the tree of life, and the white elixir is the sexual force of Eden. The red elixir, I was just thinking about that other episode. The red elixir transforms lead into gold and makes everything yellow. The red elixir whitens the metal and gives them immaculate whiteness. Although all metals are carried to perfection by the elixir, there is no doubt that the most perfect metals are those that reach perfection more rapidly. The less perfect metals are reaching perfection in accordance with the more perfect ones. This is the blessed magisterium of the great work of the Father. It is important to learn how to project the red and the white elixirs upon the metals in order to transmute them into pure gold. The formula consists of mixing 1 part of the elixir with the honey of the metal that is the closest to perfection. All of these contents are enclosed within the receptacle, which is then placed in the furnace in order for the fire to make a perfect union after 3 days. The same process must be repeated with other metals that are closest to perfection. Thus, we succeed little by little in transmuting all of the metals into pure gold. This gold more pure than all the gold of the mines of earth. The metals are internal bodies that must be crystallified with the white and red elixirs. The first metal we must transmute into gold is the physical body. We project our white and red elixirs upon this metal in order to transmute it into pure gold of spirit. This work is performed when we have raised our first serpent upon the reed. Serpent. This goes back to the phallic idea in the religions of antiquity, the ancient religions. After 3 days, that is to say, after the first serpent has passed through the 3 highest chambers of the head, The Buddhic body or body of consciousness is integrally fused with the innermost. This is how the closest metal is transformed into pure gold. With this integral fusion, the real being is the big. What would Freud say about that? The real being is achieved. A new master who is the result of the fusion emerges from the living profundity of the consciousness. This internal master is the authentic master of the metallic transmutations. Later, the master of metallic transmutations must do the projections under the remainder of his metals in order to transmute them by exacting from them pure gold. It is necessary to bake, and rebake 3 times. You got to bake, and rebake, and not only become tired of it. And not to become tired of it. In the beginning, the fire can be low, but later it must be very intense in order to achieve the perfect transmutation. The second metal must be transmuted by the ethereal body. We perform this work by projecting our white and red elixirs over this body. The spirit and the fire of the second serpent, which are the 2 elixirs, transmute to ethereal bodies, to Soma Puncheon, the body of gold. The third metal that we transmute is the astral body. We perform this with the third serpent that belongs to the astral body. We extract a superior astral body, which is the intimate Christ from the astral body. The child of gold is horns. This child of gold is horns. We then transmute the mental body in order to extract the Christ mind from this metal. Thus, we enter the room of the double Ma'at, and we liberate ourselves from the 4 bodies of sin. When we achieve the perfect metallic transmutation, the 4 bodies of sin give us the 4 bodies of gold. These 4 bodies of sin are replaced by 4 heavenly bodies that serve as a temple for the 3-unit immortal spirit. We extract the body of liberation from the physical body. This body is made with flesh, but flesh does not come from Adam. It is a body filled with millenarian perfections. It is elaborate with the most evolved atoms of the physical body. The body of gold that co-penetrates the body of liberation is extracted from the ethereal body. The body of gold is out of alchemy that replaces the astral body, is extended from the astral body. The Christ mind that replaces the mental body is extracted from the mental body. And this is how we achieve metallic transmutation. This is how the 4 bodies of sin are replaced by the 4 bodies of glory. This is how we transmute the metals with the white and red elixirs. This is how the inferior quadrinary reinforces the divine triad. The gods of nirvana are dressed with 4 bodies of glory, and flannel shirts and dirty jeans and greasy hair. The gods of nirvana do not use the 4 bodies of sin. that smells like Teen Spirit. We masters of nirvana who are accomplished a mission here in the physical world must keep our four bodies of sin in order to express ourselves through them. However, we are liberated from our four bodies of sin. Nirvana, the masters of nirvana, there actually was only three bodies of sin. I'm way off the path. We enliven them in the form of hypostasy, or by the apostasy. The same eternal and spiritual triad must pass through the gigantic alchemical transmutation in order to reach the union with the one, the law with the Father. There are 7 serpents that we must raise upon the reed in order to convert ourselves into the king, crowned with the red diadem. The 5th serpent gives us Christ will. The 6th serpent gives us Christ consciousness. The 7th serpent unites us with the one, the law, with the Father. In my day, I can only do probably maybe 3, maybe 4 serpents in one night. But, I mean, that's just me. It is necessary to bake, and rebake and not become tired of it. The receptacle must be hermetically sealed in order to impede the spilling of the crude manner of the great work. And of this work of alchemy, the spiritual substance are converted into corporeal substances, and the corporeal substances are converted into spiritual substances. This is our sacred magistrum of fire. All right, we're going to move into chapter 7. This is the Treatise of Sexual Alchemy by Samael Aeon. I don't know why I'm having a problem with this. Samael Aeon Weor. I don't know why I'm having a problem. All right. Chapter 7, the Elixir of Long Life, which Geraldo del Campo talked about. The chapter of driving away the slaughterings which are performed in the underworld. Oh, God, here we go. Neb Seni, the scribe and designer of the temples of Upper and Lower Egypt, he to whom fair venerations are paid, the son of the scribe of the artist Athena, triumphant saith, Hail, turn, I have become glorious in the presence of the double lion God, the great God. Therefore open thou unto me the gate of the god Seb. I smell the earth of the great God who dwelleth in the underworld, and I advance into the presence of the company of the gods who dwell in the beings who are in the underworld. And hail, thou guardian of the divine door of Beta, thou Neti, who dwellest in the Amentet. I eat food and have life through the air, and the god Ak-Ur leadeth me with him to the mighty boat of Kephra. Oh, Kephra. I hold converse with the divine mariners at eventide, and I enter in and go forth, and I seek the being who is there, and I lift him up, and I say, what have I to say unto him whose throat sinketh for the lack of air? I have life, and I am delivered, having laid down in death, and hail through the brightest offerings and obligations. I bring forward thy mouth and make it to draw nigh to the ringings and offerings of obligations. Set thou right and truth firmly. What? Come on, kitty. Come on. Get down from there. All right, where was I? Set thou right and truth firmly upon the throne. Make thou writings and draw nigh the set. Did I lose something? That the goddess of the presence of Osiris, the mighty god and prince of everlastingness, who counteth his years and hearkeneth unto those who are at the islands, who raiseth his shoulder, who judgeth the divine prince, and who sendeth into the presence of the great sovereign princes who live in the underworld. When we have achieved the glory of the double lion god, which means before the law, and the law opens the door to the divine Seb for us. The divine Seb is Atmen, the universal spirit of life, before whom we bow reverently. When then presents ourselves the assembly of the gods who dwell with the beings who are in the underworld, and we give thanks to the air and the immortal one conduces us to the mighty boat of Kefra. I used to know a chick when I was in art school named Kefra. She was smoking. We would sit up, we would skip class and go to the Oyster House and talk about tarot cards. It was wild. Kefra is a creative deity of the gods, whose sacred scarab Ra within ourselves, the deity. I hold and converse with the divine mariners at eventide. I enter in, I go forth, and I see the being who is there. This being is my father, who is in secret. He is the one who I converse when I have perfected myself. This is how I acquire the elixir of long life after having drawn near to the winter or the lists of offering or obligations. This is how I am delivered, and this is how I have life after having lain down in death. The body of liberation is neither subjected to sickness nor to death. The body of liberation is made with flesh, the bones, but it is the flesh that comes not from Adam, is the flesh that comes from the cosmic Christ. The body of liberation is similar to the divine Rabbi of Galilee. The body of liberation is the body of the gods. We sit upon the throne of justice and truth with this body, and thus we remain exalted as immortals in the presence of Osiris and Horus. Or, as you know him, Harpocrates. Osiris is the innermost, or the mighty god, the prince of everlastingness, who counteth his years, who hearkeneth unto those who are in the islands, who raiseth his right shoulder, and who judgeth the divine princes, and who sendeth the deceased into the presence of the great sovereign princes who live in the underworld. The entire elixir of the long life found in the phallus of Osiris we can preserve even in this physical body for long aeons of time with the elixir of long life. Master Mijoner lived 7 times 7 centuries. The Master Zonai preserved his physical body for thousands of years, and the Count Saint Germain still possesses the physical body, which will be presented himself in the courts of Europe during the 17th and 18th century. We enter the kingdom of the supermen. With while white and red elixirs, we convert ourselves into omnipotent gods of the universe. Man, woo, we got some deep shit here. So I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you guys for listening to me babble on about this. would like to encourage everyone, if you would, to rate and review on iTunes. I would appreciate rate and reviews, and I give you a little shout out on the show if you do good. Actually, I've been known to give a shout out for both bad and good reviews, but I would appreciate it. Also, would like to encourage you guys to check out the website, sigmatastudios.com. On sigmatastudios.com, you can find the featured links tab or the featured topics tab. Featured topics link. There we go. That sounds right. If you're interested in this episode, you can find streaming right there on the same page. All the episodes, some of the episodes that tie into this without having to like search through the whole fucking thing. So that's there. And then also there's links to my social media at the bottom. I love to hear I'd love to hear from you guys. And let me know what you think about this whole sexual alchemy thing. Before I get too far into this, hang on to the end. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do fucking fight, and then at the end, I'm going to do the conclusion to sexual alchemy. From Samael L. God, why do I have such a problem with this? Samael Weor, the Treatise of Sexual Alchemy. We're going to do a whole last chapter. It's going to be like the Act 4 in Aliens. So just hang tight. We'll get into that. Sign into the newsletter or the mailing list, and it'll send you a link to a secret part of the website where you can go and you can download PDFs where basically I share the graphics, and stuff right out of my notebook. So there is that, and then also I'd like to invite everyone to go check out my Patreon page. I have like to get some more Patreon support, and the reason I like to get more Patreon support is because I would like more money, but also a portion of all the Patreon support and all the donation support, and even just the ad revenue that comes from the normal stream show, a portion of all that goes to what I call Tomes for Troopers. It's basically like we send books and media to soldiers who are deployed overseas. So it's a great thing, especially in this month where we're talking about, a few weeks ago we were talking about Veterans Day and all that stuff. So we want to support that. I know what it's like to be stuck out in the field with only one fucking V8. I was stuck out in a place called Wild Flickin'. They called it Wild Chicken. It was like freezing cold Germany, and all we had was The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. So I watched it like 180 fucking times. I know that movie front to back because every waking moment of my life was that I wasn't busy. I was watching The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. Okay, so we're gonna sum this up. We're gonna get to fucking fight by Soda Jerk, and then if you hang on till the end, we're gonna do Conclusion of Sexual Alchemy from I'm gonna fuck this up again, Samael Aeon Weor, Treatise of Sexual Alchemy. So here we go. Hang on till the end. There's some great stuff coming on. I'm gonna do sound effects and everything. Here we go. All right, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate each and one of you guys. Please let me know what you think of the topic and what you think of the show. If you go to abercast.com, you can find the links to all my social media there. So let me know what you think. You can also find the featured topic link. So you can easily find other episodes linked to this one. And also, if you're interested in my comic books or graphic novels, you can find links there. You can pick up a shirt. There's plenty of stuff to keep you busy on the website. Patreon support, patreon.com/Abercast. There's some fun swag. There's 17 exclusive episodes done just over the last few months. Brand new exclusive episodes, 17 of them. And then there's also over 10 hours of other bonus material that you can't find anywhere else there as well. And a portion of all that stuff goes for Tomes for Troopers. Donate link is paypal.me/Stigmata Studios. Portion of that also goes to Tomes for Troopers. In the plan, you can sign up for the mailing list to get the graphic stuff. So what happens is you sign in to the mailing list stuff, and then it'll send you a link to the secret part of the website where you can go and download special graphics that accompany the episode. So if I'm talking about the Kabbalah Tree of Life and the Supernal Triangle, you go there and get a better idea of what I'm talking about, because I actually crack open my notebook and scan it in for the newsletter people. And I'd like to also remind everybody and encourage everybody to rate and review on iTunes. And thank you guys very much. I said, here we go. There we go. Hey! This is a perfect song for this topic.
Well, I was just 14 when I had my first sip. And my darling whiskey, she tightened up her grip. And she made me sick that night. I knew that the whiskey would take up my life. Well, I stand a full 2 inches below 5'9", and every guy here wants to take me alive. So I'll take a shot of whiskey and punch out their lights. The whiskey, it make me wanna fucking fight. I fucking fight. I fucking fight. The whiskey, it make me wanna fucking fight. Not even the crack of dawn is safe. So I'll take a shot of whiskey and say goodnight. The whiskey is make me wanna fucking fight. I fucking fight. Fucking fight. The whiskey, it make me wanna fucking fight. The whiskey, it make me wanna fucking fight. The whiskey, it make me wanna fucking fight.
Well, yes, I think that I do spend too much of my time watching. Never mind. I was going to do a Pornhub joke. Conclusions of Sexual Alchemy from the Treatise of Sexual Alchemy by Samael Weor. We have concluded this treatise of sexual alchemy. We've concluded this treatise of sexual alchemy with the absolute security that this 20th century humanity will be able to understand it. What is certain is that the pedants of the epoch will throw out all their slandering spittle against us when reading these lines. Fornication is something terrible in this Enoch, and with the spiritualists of schools defend their lovely fornication with their shield and sword. This is why, after bringing this work into light, we are willing to patiently tolerate all the slander and calumny. I wrote this book for the Aquarian humanity and for our Gnostic disciples who, from the vanguard of human evolution, the foundation of the schools of the mystery reside in sex. This is why we find the masculine deity and the feminine deity in all religions. We see Isis and Osiris in Egyptian, Hercules and Dagon in Phoenicia, Apollo and Diana in Greece, Pluto and Persephone in Attic. And among the Greeks, the phallus and the uterus are frankly spoken of. This is the lingam, yoni of the mystery of Elysius. The verb of the word of gold is the based on the great mysteries of sex. It is impossible to speak of the verb of light without awakening the Kundalini. I-A-O as mantra resounds with the unspeakable mysteries of the great arcanum. Dis, das, dos are fundamental mantras of sexual alchemy. The mantras were given to one or another disciple of a venerable master. The sound of the vowels must be prolonged as the sound of the S, giving it the intonation of the sweet, affable hiss. It must be vocalized as follows: Demus, das, dos. The Master O.M. warned our disciples that the practice of sexual magic must be performed slowly and softly. The master, or the mantras dis, des, and dos must be vocalized in the practice of sexual magic. The disciples will avoid the danger of sexual discharge with these mantras. So here you go. This is what I want you to do. Next time you guys are getting busy, men, female, whatever, men, women, women, man, women, and you're vocalizing, do this, do dis, das, and dos, and stretch those S's and see what happens. Report back to me. During the sexual act, disciples must withdraw from their spouse before the spasm in order to avoid seminal ejaculation. These mantras must be vocalized many times during the practice. In this book, we have delivered the tentic secret of the great arcanum to humanity. Probably skip that since we're only focusing on two or three chapters. In the Middle Ages, the initiate who divulged this tenific secret was killed with poison perfume bouquets, the shirts of Nessus, poisoned soaps, daggers, or on the scaffold. Those in Egypt who divulged the great arcanum were condemned to death penalty. Their heads were cut off, or their hearts were torn out. Hamnam Shaba, Hamnam Shaba. You've embarrassed Kali, and their ashes were thrown into the four winds. Therefore, in this book, we have given humanity the most tentific secrets of the universe. We have uncovered the philosophical stone, the elixir of long life, and the quadratain of the circle, and the key of perpetual movement. Brethren of mine, with the secrets of this book, you can transmutate lead into gold and convert yourself into the terrific gods of the universe, who inhabits the worlds of mist and fire, and into the creators of the universe. All the books of alchemy have been written in codes. Whatsoever does not know the code of sexual magic cannot understand the books of alchemy. All the technology of the books of alchemy must be searched for in the sexual organs. All the books of Raymond Lully, Albert the Great, Sendivigius, Periclesius, Nicholas Flamel can only be understood with the supreme code of sexual magic and sexual healing. You want healing, sexual healing. All the laboratories of the medieval alchemists must be searched for in the sexual organs. The medieval alchemist hid a great arcanum among innumerable symbols and esoteric allegories. This was in order to save it from profanity. and in order for them to avoid being burned alive in the blazes of Inquisition. All of who divulged the great arcanum prior to me died. There was only the man who divulged the great arcanum, and I did not die. I am the man. Not. Here I deliver it to humanity. Here I give it away to all the living beings so that I may convert themselves into living gods. Amen. In this closing this work, I must warn our Gnostic disciples that the act of sexual magic can only be performed between husband and wife in legally constituted homes. This is the mystery of the double polarity. Husband and wife form a complete positive-negative polarity. But when this husband enters another woman or the wife enters another man, what is this, some Alec Baldwin pegging nonsense? The order to practice sexual magic, a double polarity is formed that results in absolute negative. The double polarity has no power in order to transmute the sexual energy. The double polarity cannot fertilize the mercury of the secret philosophy with the solar fires. The double polarity cannot awaken the kundalini because it's absolute negatives. The chaotic waters remain intact without being fertilized or transmuted. The mystery of the double polarity, therefore, a male or female adulterer cannot awaken the kundalini. Fire is the fundamental base of all that exists. The fire fertilizing the chaotic matter. The super astral light, the dawn of light. The fire was revolving within the cosmic dust as an ingenious serpent. This was the first light of the universe. This is the superastral light that is placed in our Christianic semen. This is the cosmic electricity that has the power to prepare the seminal atoms and fertilize them in the order of the germs of life to sprout out from within them. The germ of life exists within each seminal atom. Within our planetary universe is dissolved and reduced to atoms. The germ of this universe, we sleep in the atoms until the fire of gods fertilize them in the dawn of the new Mahavatamamrava. The divine germs sleep within our seminal conscious, awakens only the time to be fertilized by the fire in order to give us the consciousness of the gods. This super astral light is the first light of creation. It is the primordial Elohim. The super astral light has two poles, the positive and the other negative. The positive pole is the bronze serpent, the kundalini, and healed the Israelites in the wilderness. And the negative pole is the tempting serpent of Eden. It's the Kundagordia. Gordior is the Kundagordior. The positive pole is OD and the negative pole is OB. The superastral light is the Kundalini, which we must awaken by practicing sexual magic. It is the fundamental, in any other way foolish. What is important is the fire. Everything else is illusion. The planes of cosmic consciousness are nothing but scales of the serpent of fire. The serpent leaves the scale at the end of the Maha, Mava, Vantra, Arya. The scales are nothing more than cosmic dust. We must liberate ourselves from these scales in order to be born within the absolute, the uncredited light, the non-being, which is the real being, subjectively shines within the darkness of the absolute Buddha. The spiritual soul is a spark that was engendered by the soul of the world. It must ripen by means of sexual magic in order to awaken the absolute consciousness and to be born in the absolute Buddha. The spiritual soul can be independent of the soul of the world, and only by means of sexual alchemy. Absolute happiness is for those who liberate themselves from the cosmic dust and who are born uncreated light of life, free in this movement. Christ is an inhabitant of the absolute. Christ came to the cosmic garden in order to guide us and to leave us the uncreated light of the absolute. Vodka. Life free in its movement, an absolute, where only the uncredited light shines. Human beings and gods are submitted to karma and pain as long as they are not liberated from the cosmos. The faux hat hisses when it slithers from one point to another, and the positive pole, Kundalini, is the super astral light converts us into gods. And the negative pole, Kunda Tiagward, is the fire of fornication that converts us into demons. We convert ourselves into androgynous flames by means of sexual alchemy. The dawn of each Manvantaria, the God, the great mother, the universal feminine principle, steals the fire from the gods in order to fertilize herself and to shine with pleasure. This is the universal prejudiceness. This is the tragedy of the gods. This is what the logic downfall is. The gods can be liberated only when their virginal sparks are liberated. Fortunately, in the dawn of each Mahamanvantria, the spiral of life causes the universe to ascend one step more on the path of perfection. These are two paths, the spiral path and the directional path towards the absolute. This is to my arhats. It is better to renounce the happiness of nirvana and sacrifice yourself for the great work of the Father in order to be born within the absolute. This I say to my arhats, the masters who renounce the happiness of nirvana in order to follow the duty of the long path of woe and bitterness are liberated from the souls of the world after many ages. Thus they are born with an uncreated light of life, free in its movements, where an absolute happiness, absolute consciousness, and absolute reality of the being resides.